Hey there, I am Christy Ruffino, former broke single mom turned CEO of two six-figure businesses and best-selling author with 15 books. But it wasn't always like this. Not long ago, I was a hot mess. Yes, I did a lot of things right, but mostly I was throwing spaghetti on the wall to see what would stick. Fast forward past many failed attempts and a few incredible victories, I not only get to share what I've learned along the way, I get to bring together top influencers as they share their empowering stories, insider secrets, and valuable resources that can be used right now to step into your power. So, if you're an ambitious entrepreneur, or possibly one in the making, and you're looking to create a business and life that lights you up, well, then you're in the right place. Well, hello and welcome to another episode of the Mastery Unleashed podcast. My name is Christy Ruffino, and I'm the host of today's show. Actually, I'm the host of all of the shows. And today I actually have the pleasure of re-interviewing a guest that was on, God, I'd say many years ago. It seems crazy for me to say many years that we've had this podcast for at least over 2 years, but we have. And today's guest is a repeat visitor. I've known her for many years. Not only was she on one of my initial launch episodes, but she also spoke at my Dynamic Women's Conference in Chicago in 2016. And today you get the pleasure of meeting Michele Mere. She is a decisive, driven, and committed entrepreneur who helps successful business owners regain control of their time and create financial independence using the Find Your Money Solutions systematic approach to measure and improve the value of a business. And today, I love what she is talking about. I'm not going to give it all away, of course, but not only is she talking about how as entrepreneurs and small business owners, we can look at the bottom line and actually improve our bottom line with a couple strategies. She's just fun. And so I'm really excited for you to meet her, to get to know her. I know not only have I gotten to respect her immensely over the years, but I know our community, a lot of the women of my community have connected with her when she spoke in 2016, and just kind of throughout the years, she's just been a great resource for the women in my network and so many other women, I think men too, so many people out there. So let's go ahead and get on with the show, and you'll be able to meet Michele. And of course, at the end, hang around because she's got a great resource that you can download and actually apply some of her strategies to your business today. All right. Well, welcome everybody. I am so excited about today's episode because I am bringing back a wonderful guest that I had when I first started this podcast. I looked back on our records and she was guest number 5. And today she will probably be around guest number 135. So we've come a long way, and I really appreciate you rejoining us again, Michele. Welcome.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. I can't believe it's been that long already.
I know we did some catching up before I pressed the record button, and we have been around each other a lot for many years, I think. Well, so you were a featured keynote speaker at my Dynamic Women's Conference in 2015, along with Bob Berg and another amazing speaker. But we knew each other before then. So it's kind of
Yeah.
neat how we just in this community or this kind of, I don't know, space, how we just keep staying connected and keep supporting each other.
Yeah, I know. It's awesome. I've met so many wonderful people in this world that you and I play in. So
Yeah. And we can do it all from our house, right?
yeah, exactly.
Things are so different now. I know we met in person years ago,
We
but
did.
now it is a whole different space. And I love it because we're able to stay connected and keep the relationships going.
Hmm.
So
Very cool.
today, yes, today it's super cool. Today we are going to talk about money. And as an entrepreneur or a small business owner, that's really important because if we don't keep the cash flowing, we can't keep serving our clients. And
Right.
so you've been on a journey yourself. I know when you were actually, when you did your keynote presentation on stage, I was amazed when I heard your story the first time.
Yeah.
But I think your story's probably evolved a little bit, but it still is why you're so passionate about what you do. So do you want to share that with our audience today?
Yeah, yeah. So, just kind of give you guys a little background on who I am. I would definitely be in the dictionary besides serial entrepreneur. You would find me there. So, it's been a lifetime situation for me. I like to tell people I was born into a family that had kids to guarantee they had employees because, when I was born, we already had a grocery store, mobile home park, a record service. My dad started a trucking company when I was 7. So literally, I learned how to crawl and walk and talk in our grocery store. And so, we worked. That's what we did. I thought, actually, it was really funny because I thought all kids grew up like I did. It wasn't until much later that I found out that not everyone was working, at the age of 5. And so, yeah, it made for a wonderful life because I learned how to deal with people. I learned how to run businesses. I learned how to make decisions. I watched my father, my grandfather, my mom, all of them in all of these different positions in these businesses, really learning along the way how to do it right and how to do it wrong. So,
Mm,
it was wonderful. I grew up, I went to college, got a degree in accounting, so that I could understand the numbers, because what I knew was those that understand the numbers can build anything they want. And that's the thing. I mean, I was that little kid circling the Sears catalog on what she was going to buy and resell. I mean, that's who I am in life. And so, I happen to also love the numbers, which is a great thing and brings us to our conversation today. I spent about 25 years in the trucking industry, which was really interesting, me and a lot of guys. And then built that to a place where we sold that company and our grocery store in the same year, and my entire family retired. And at that point, I was in my early 40s and trying to kind of figure out what I was going to do next in this world. And realized that what I loved was business, and especially like those who have my heart are entrepreneurs, besides my grandkids, but entrepreneurs, you
I'm
know?
with you on that.
Yeah, yeah. And so I decided to start a business where I could help entrepreneurs to do what we did as a family in our businesses, and not necessarily to sell, although a lot of people do hire me because they want to get ready to sell their business. But how do you have a business that provides for you, provides for your entire family, it makes you happy and excited, and you're not completely it doesn't consume your life. And so how do you do that in a way, so that we have what most of us start our businesses wanting, which is control over our own lives, our own time, our own money, all of those kind of things. So I started that. I started Decisive Minds in 2010. That's my consulting firm. And along the way, I would be working with my clients, and I, guys, like, I'm a truth teller. I'm going to look at the numbers. I'm going to tell you what your numbers are telling you. And when my clients would come to me and say, well, that didn't work, I'm like, prove it to me. Where are the numbers? Show me that it didn't work. And so what was happening was that so many of my clients could not come to me with accurate information. They didn't have their financials right. If they had a bookkeeper, it wasn't necessarily always accurate. And the majority of them just didn't have bookkeepers. And so I ended up starting Bottom Line Bookkeeping Solutions, really as a way for my clients to get their bookkeeping done. So now that's kind of become my focus. Is most of the time people are bringing me in to do their bookkeeping, or to look at their numbers and their financials and get them to where they understand things. And along the way, they're like, oh, I also need you in to consult in my business. So it's kind of flip-flopped a bit for me in the approach and the direction, which is perfect, because it is my goal in life to make your numbers easy and to have you fall in love with them. I get it. Not everyone loves numbers the way I do. However, I have seen total transformations in my clients where when they're no longer in stress over not knowing what their numbers are, or not knowing if they're making any money, they're looking at that checking account going, I don't know if I'm making any money, right?
Or that they're not making any money because they're not, their debt is higher, their expenses are higher than their income because they're not paying attention.
Yeah, because they're not paying attention. I'll tell you, I had a client recently, about 2 months ago. We had a scenario where she ran a payment for one of her clients, and I start asking questions. Why don't I see that money? Where did that money go? I know you told me you had a big sale. And I backtracked a few things, and she had changed credit card vendors for her processing in 2020. And when they did the setup, they didn't toggle the little thing that said pay her when someone ran through American Express. And I found $138,000 that she had not been paid over from 2021 and 22, and then early 23. And so number one, I'm like, okay, consider that a forced savings, because you're getting the numbers, you're getting the money as a lump sum. She got the money put into her checking account. Thank the Lord.
Wow.
But if like, how long could it have gone if someone wasn't paying attention or looking, to the point where I was looking?
Wow.
So yeah, there's a lot of that kind of stuff. You're paying for stuff that you don't even realize you're paying for, or whatever. There's tons of stuff going on when it comes to money. And that's the conversation we're going to have today. It's just not as clear cut as you think it is. It's not, I'm just not making any money. There's something going on that's having that situation occur. So
right. Well, I've seen it a lot where entrepreneurs, they start a business because they have a passion for something, right? They want to make an impact. They know their skill. They know the people they want to serve, or they have a heart to serve people. But then they get started and they realize, well, gosh, I've got all this business stuff I have to take care of. I've got to look at the numbers. I need to know my profit and loss. I need to, set up my categories so my taxes are done right at the end of the year. And there's a lot of things that they don't realize initially, that if you don't do it right, it's going to cause you a lot of problems, and it's going to affect your bottom line.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
And it's really not the right move for them to become an expert at any of that, because that's not their main focus. And to bring somebody like you in that knows what to look for, knows how to proceed correctly, where it's going to be an advantage. I'm sure there are many of your customers where it actually didn't cost them to hire. I mean, it cost them to hire you, but they save more in the long run by having you help them. So they would have lost money by not bringing you in.
Yeah, I bring a pretty great perspective from a bookkeeping side of things, because the majority of bookkeepers that I know have not had the life experience that I've had. They didn't grow up in business. They didn't build businesses from scratch, build them to the point of selling them. Some of them, I mean, we've had businesses fail and had to close them. I've been through every scenario there is in business. And so it really gives me a perspective of looking at numbers and saying, this is the story that's telling you, because I've experienced it prior. Right. So
Right.
we're a lot there's that's a unique kind of thing that we bring to the table as a bookkeeping system over here. So yes, ma'am. Fun, fun,
Yay. And I'm sure
fun.
their tax people love being able to take what you've helped them put together because it's all probably nice and tidy and buttoned
Oh
up and
yeah. Oh yeah.
categorized correctly and just
Yeah.
make the numbers all continue to sing. I love that.
Yeah, kind of along those lines, what we were talking about here is that when we don't know those things, we don't see those things, we think we've got a money problem, just, like I just don't have the cash flow or whatever that is. And from a business development perspective, money is not always the problem. It feels like it's the problem, but it's not the problem. There are other things that are causing that problem. So
Yes, I think, and I can speak for myself. I think a lot of entrepreneurs have a passion, right? But they also have a interesting relationship with money. And so
mhm.
sometimes the way we execute certain things or the way we don't execute ends up by costing us issues. But that's another whole conversation.
That's exactly right.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, thank you, Michelle. So everybody hang tight because we're going to take a quick commercial break and then we're going to dive into the juiciness of this conversation today. And Michelle's going to really talk about how we can recognize areas that our businesses are losing money and maybe change some of that. And I know at the end, she has a great gift that she wants to give to our audience about how to get cash, 5 ways to get cash into our business quicker. So I'm excited about that as well. So hang tight, Michelle, and we will be right back, everybody. Welcome back, everybody. This is Christy and Michele Mere on the Mastery Unleashed podcast. And right now we're going to get into the ninja tips, I like to call it, where our guest today, Michelle, is going to teach our audience how they can be more money or number savvy. So I'd like to start with one of the questions that you gave me because it was pretty interesting. What are the 4 sins of cash flow?
Yes, no. Oh, goodness. Oh, girl, you just said something. You said some people want to look at those numbers and some people don't. And that when we look at what's going on in a money conversation in our businesses, I see certain things that just are causing huge problems. And the first one being avoiding our numbers. It is by far the number one mistake that business owners are making. I see it all the time. They are behind on their taxes because they don't want to stop and take a look. They are maybe checking their checking account, and as long as it's not negative every day, they're considering it working, right? And why is that happening? Number one, obviously, there's maybe a mindset thing going on around avoiding the numbers. But the fact is that the majority of entrepreneurs are they're deep into their business, and this feels like that thing that they will get to. And they're always, I'm going to get to it, right? What they may not realize is that is a tool that's helping them to avoid their numbers. And what we're avoiding is not making it better. So that's definitely number one. Stop avoiding your numbers. Number two is to really, and I just alluded to it, is to understand that cash flow is more than just what's in your bank. There are opportunities in your business to get cash flowing. And for those of us who might be running our businesses from our bank app on our phone, be real careful, because and we'll talk about it in a little bit. We want to look at how do we get that cash flowing into your business quicker. The third one is really a problem, and that is this conversation of, but we've always done it this way. We've always billed in arrears. we've always gone through a collection agency. We've always had this amount, this particular team member working in this position. We've always done it this way. That's an escape route for entrepreneurs to not have to face what being a business owner sometimes means.
Which is progression. Okay? We have to always be progressive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then the fourth problem here is that shortages do happen, and we have to be prepared as business owners for that. It is, they're just, I don't really know very many business owners who can say that they never have a downtime. Like, there are things that happen. For some people, it may be right after holidays that their downtime comes. For others, maybe their summers go flat. Or for others, maybe their winters go flat. Whatever that is. But we want to take the time to be prepared, to know when those things happen in our sales cycles, and to have cash put away for those things whenever they come at us. We probably have all, I would think you've all probably heard it, and that is to have 6 months minimum of your expenses put away for that. I will say that when I say that to audiences, I get this look like, yeah, great. That's easy for you to say. How am I going to do that? Right? Don't worry about that. If you look at your numbers and you need to have $250,000 put away to cover bills for if you go into a downturn, then don't wait until you've got this $250,000 that you can go put in the bank to do that. You start by putting, so much per day or so much per week, little chunks. And before you know it, that is built up. How much are you going to put aside this month to cover when those times come? If you want to become the happy business owner, those are the things you have to do. Okay. So
good.
Are we willing to take those steps and and step into being that business owner? So
yeah. And maybe if the thought of 6 months is just too massive for you, maybe it's just 1 month, and get that 1 month done, and then work on 2 months. And like, right. Just because sometimes I know, the elephant, if it's too big, we don't even try to, go into that, take a bite. Yes. Right. But if we just do it 1 month at a time, then we could, if we start, look back and realize, all right, this worked.
Right. Right. Exactly, Christy.
Love it. Okay. All right. Well, I know for me as an entrepreneur and a business owner, I did not look at numbers, and I had people always encouraging me to make decisions based on what is fiscally or financially responsible instead of what my heart was telling me. Yeah. And I think a lot of business owners kind of do that, right? We make decisions from the heart perspective as opposed to our head perspective. And then we find ways to avoid doing it the right way. And then we find ourselves in trouble or having an expensive hobby. Yeah. But I know for me, I had to learn the hard way. And for others, I'm hoping if they're listening to this, they don't learn the hard way. But if they have a business that they feel that there's more money going out than in, like that they're bleeding money, what can they do to like be able to fix it or like change that?
Yeah. So great question. Thank you. Several things come to mind. One is that the conversation we were just having about how do you get cash in the door quicker, right? And I'll give you an example. I own a lot of businesses, and one of the businesses that I own right now is a trailer leasing business. We lease chemical trailers to the chemical industry. My brother, sister, and I own that company. I remember I said we sold a trucking business. After that trucking business, as a family, we went into leasing trailers. And so we lease these trailers to these chemical companies or haulers for those chemical companies, and they are leasing those trailers from us by the month. So as of, the start of May 1st, if they have that trailer, they're paying for the month of May. So I bill them on May 1st. I bill them in advance. I don't wait until May is over and bill them in arrears. The industry bills in arrears.
Mm.
So we just closed on buying another company, which doubled the size of our company. And we brought on a partner in that process. So now we've got this, a partner in our business who brought this other business, right? And we have now bought, and he billed in arrears. And so when we we finished the deal and we sat down together, and I said, okay, so this is how we bill. And his face, the blood like drains out of his face. He's like, oh no, my clients won't do that because we bill in arrears. I'm like, I hear you, and I don't care. I get it. And I know we're going to have to negotiate some things with these current clients. But as clients come on, you're going to begin to bill in advance, not in arrears. Because here's the fact. The fact is, if they keep it 1 day, 10 days, or all month, they have to pay for the month they signed a contract. So why would I wait? So what he didn't realize was he was waiting to bill at the end of the month. Now they've had that trailer for 30 days. You've had to pay your trailer notes. You've had to pay your expenses. And it takes them another 30 to 45 days to pay. So now you're actually 60 to 75 to 90 days before you're getting your money in the door.
Right.
So we have to begin to adjust how we look at the way we do business to be able to get that cash in the door quicker. Another thing that I work with my service clients on, and whenever let's say that they are a graphic designer, okay, and we do an analysis where we look at the different types of things they're selling, and I'm looking for, excuse me, looking for how I can maybe productize what they're selling. And what I mean by that is when a buyer buys a product, they pay in advance mentally. When you're going to buy a widget, when you're going to go to a store and buy something, you're paying right there before you get to use it. When they buy a service, mentally, people think that they pay after they get the service. They pay after they get their haircut. Right? So how do I take what you're doing? How do we take what you're doing and shift your clients to paying in advance? So I call that productizing. Okay. And so, I'm looking for a graphic designer does logos. We look at the analysis of all the logos they've ever done. They're getting on average $1,000 or maybe 10,000, because I have had a client that worked for really big corporations. But let's just play with $1,000. They're getting $1,000 per logo. Guess what? Just be like, okay, here's the deal. Here's the contract. You make the payment. And then I deliver this is the system. As long as you can systemize it and tell those people that they're going to get it like that.
Yeah.
And we go from what all salespeople, but I learned from Zig Ziglar, an assumptive close. My assumption is you're going to pay me in advance.
Yeah.
As I go into that sale with that conversation, they're not even going to book about it.
Right. Right.
So,
it's really our mindset around how we ask and how we approach the conversation. If we go into it being apprehensive, they're going to think, oh, well, something's wrong. Why would I pay you now? They're not feeling it, right? They're not feeling the confidence from you to be confident to make that decision to pay you.
Yeah, exactly. So I could go on with that forever, but I'll keep moving down my list. So we could look at improving our sales processes. Improving your sales process will get cash in the door quicker because you will close more by improving that. And what do I mean by improving your processes? Number one, making them easier. A confused buyer never buys. So if you have a complicated buying system, problem. Okay. So it's really to step back and look at your sales process. Do you have easy things on your website, a button for them to click to know what to do next? Do you tell them what your process is in 1, 2, 3 steps? Maybe 4, never 5. Then it's work to be with you. Right. We don't want them to go there. So there's a lot of conversation to be had around what your sales process looks like. And then we want to we make more money by either selling more, acquiring another company, or reducing our expenses, paying attention to our expenses. And by no means am I ever, I don't come from lack. So I'm not always looking to cut money to the bone or anything like that. What I am doing is I want to look at what it really costs you to deliver your products and services. Because a lot of times people aren't realizing all that additional overhead also is
Mm-hmm.
a cost of delivering their products and services. And so I would step out on a limb and say 99% of the time, people aren't, they're just not,
Charging that enough,
they're
right?
not charging enough.
Yeah. And think about your
Absolutely not charging enough.
experience. If a doctor goes to school to become a brain surgeon, they've got more years of school. So their services cost more. So if you look at your experience and your schooling, and especially as entrepreneurs, sometimes we have years and years and years of schooling, and a lot of money we paid in coaches and training and all these things. If we're not factoring that into the equation, we're not doing ourselves justice, really. And we're not doing
Yes,
our clients justice, because I think sometimes when our price tag is too low, they don't see the value, or they're not
correct.
committed to getting the results. So they're not doing the work.
Yes, absolutely. And it's extremely important when we're determining pricing that we look at the value we bring to them. Like,
Yep.
what is the change we are bringing to them? What's the value they can
Absolutely.
place on that? So yeah, that's great.
So you know what, all around this topic, I have recently switched my business model from low ticket to high ticket. And that was a huge jump for me, right? Because it's a
Mhm.
mindset thing. But
Yeah,
what I found is my clients that are paying high ticket, they're killing it. They're crushing it. My
yeah,
content is pretty much the same, but their
yeah,
commitment level is higher. And the
exactly.
results that they're getting, it's like they've raised themselves up to the level of what they invested in.
Right. That's right.
And now they're charging more. Like the whole process is better for them. And I just sit back and I'm like, why didn't I do this years ago?
Mhm.
It's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I mean, I used to teach a class, and in it, I would talk about, do you want to be the Walmart
Yes.
conversation? Are you looking to be, JC Penney's back then?
Yeah.
You know how old that talk is. And or do you want to be like, Macy's or Dillard's or,
Or
really
Walmart, yeah.
high end?
Yeah.
And, and Walmart makes plenty of money, but
It's quantity now, and
it's
they have
quantity
stores
money.
and staff and people, and
Yes,
it's
yes.
yeah,
So it's high risk also, and it's actually lower risk to go higher ticket.
it is. It is.
So,
And you're serving less people, which you're able to now invest more into helping them. So we don't
yes.
have a lot of time, but I want to go back
Okay.
to something you said earlier, because you mentioned that a confused mind, they
Never
don't
buy.
buy. Like they don't buy. They don't.
Yeah,
They're stuck, and they just move on to something easier. And I
correct.
recently had a conversation with somebody who is a virtual assistant. And the reason why I want to bring this topic up is because I've experienced myself many times when hiring a virtual assistant that I have a conversation, I need the help, but it's so confusing of what they're offering, right? And so
Yes.
I suggested to this uh, person that I had a conversation with recently, I'm like, why don't you package your services? Why don't you make it easy? Why don't you say, okay, like almost like look at it like a membership where you're paying X amount every month in advance and you get X amount of services, as opposed to this silly thing that she was doing. And people would put money on a debit card, and when that expired, they'd have to refill it. And she's chasing them
Oh,
down. And then she's got clients that aren't paying her. She's doing the work, and her
yeah,
business is suffering because she hasn't made it easy.
right. That's
And
right.
so can you speak a little bit to that? Because I believe when you talked about productizing our business, it's almost the same way, because
Yeah.
like, how can we create a package or multiple packages where our customer can look at the options and say, yep, I want that, and buy it. And then it's done.
Yeah, absolutely. I can, so many things pop into my head from that. And one is I want you guys to remember, you do want to give them options. You just don't want to give them 1,000. You want to give them 3. Okay. I didn't mention it, but like I spent 5 years as a Mary Kay sales director way back in the day in the early 2000s, which tells my age. And And Mary Kay always said, just keep it clean, keep it clean. So we had a small package, a medium package, and a large package, right? In my bookkeeping services, I don't like bill by the hour. I tell you what I used to hate. I had a great bookkeeper, loved her, but one month I might get a bill for $500. The next month it might be $800, right? It was all over the place. It was always just hours, and I never knew what was coming. I wanted someone to say, here, for this much money, this is what I will do for you. Makes it easy,
Makes
right?
it easy,
So
right?
I do that whenever I'm working with a new bookkeeping client. I analyze their stuff, and then I give them a proposal. My proposal is always the same, and the prices vary based on what they need. But there's this package A, package B, package C, which I named, by the way. So they're always getting offered those 3 packages. And then the prices change based on the work that they need in
Right. But
those
you made it
packages.
easy for
But
them.
it's so easy. And I've got a template in Canva that's all done. So I made it easy for me as well. That's the thing I think that entrepreneurs don't understand, is that we can simplify our work by simplifying what we're doing for our clients or our prospects. And so, I have this great template in Canva. I just pull it open. I change the names out. I change the words that need to be theirs. I change the price based on their price, and boom, I've got a proposal for them.
Love
And,
that.
so easy. So to take a little further and answer your question would be, number one, if you've been in business for a bit, if you were in business last year, maybe the year before that, maybe a couple of years before that, you can sit down and look at, hey, these are the clients I loved working with. I made money. They paid me. This was the work I did. I loved it. And do a little analysis. Okay, so if I just did that, that would be this package. And then if I did that plus this, it would be this package plus this. And so I would offer to you that you should be looking for 3 packages.
Yep. I agree.
Mm-hmm. And really, I want to say this, and I hope you hear it out there, and that is that you already know the answer. So do not resist the process.
Yes.
Like if you've been in business a while, these answers. It's really just sitting down and thinking through it, or talking with someone, talking through, and don't complicate the packages.
Yeah. And maybe if somebody's listening and they really like this idea, but they don't even know where to start, do a little research, maybe find other professionals in your industry that have success and look at their packages and use that as a guide to create your first packaging group, right? You're gonna always adjust it. Like you said, you've got your template up and you adjust it per conversation. But start like, make it easy and realize that probably part of the process of part of the reason why you're not getting the results you want is because you're not making it easy for yourself and for your clients.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I am so excited that you have this gift that you're going to share with our audience. And I'm going to grab it too, if you don't mind, because it's 5 ways to get cash into your business quicker. So I think that that's going to be a great resource for our audience. You want to share a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, it's really an expansion on the conversation that we've just been sitting here having, right? How do we look at money from a way that is not evil, and really, fall in love with the process in our business and not fight it? Number one, there are people out there who are providing services that aren't even running the credit cards whenever they were supposed to, right? So there's just stuff going on for us around this money conversation. So number one is, what is the mental side of that? And then number two is, there are strategies that have money come into your business quicker. And what are those things that we can do, and how do we shift them, right? Kind of thinking back to the idea of the trailer leasing story I told you. How do we shift that for people when they're used to doing it a certain way? And you might be that person who's used to doing it a certain way. And then what cost do we need to pay attention to? And how do we look at a P&L, profit and loss on our business, and understand what the story is telling us?
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
we're going to touch on a lot of those different things. So.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. And if you want to get Michele's free gift, a very generous gift, you can find the link in the show notes below, or you can go to findingyourmoneysolutions.com. Wherever you go, I know you'll enjoy the gift. And what will happen is you'll go to our gift vault, where you'll be able to get Michele's gift and many others. So go ahead and jump onto the link below, and you'll be able to grab all of the amazing resources. And I just want to thank you, Michele. This has been a lot of fun to reconnect. And I love the content that you shared with our audience today.
Oh, thanks, Chrissy. Thanks for asking me to do it again. And it's really good to catch up. It's been a while.
Yeah, I was saying the first, when you came on show number 5, you probably had 10 listeners. And, 2 years later, I know you'll have a bigger audience today. And I'm really excited that you were able to come back, because I appreciate you trusting me initially to help me get our show launched. You were in my 12 Days of Christmas launch back 2 years ago when we did that. And I'm just happy that, there's a show continued, and that I was able to invite you back.
Congratulations.
I love what you're doing. So, so everybody, if you heard today's show and you learned something new, I encourage you, I say this every time, I encourage you to share it with somebody else, because we retain more by teaching others. So kind of do a mental recap of the points that you found interesting, and talk about it with somebody you know, like, and trust. And of course, if you like our show, please go to whatever platform you listen and show us some love. We really would love to get more reviews. We've had a lot throughout the years, but we want to keep having new, fresh reviews from our clients, whether they enjoy our show or not. Any review is important to us, and feedback is always important. So we continue to make our show better, and we continue to get amazing guests like Michele. So thanks, everybody. And of course, thanks, Michele.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Mastery Unleashed podcast, where we believe that everyone can have the business and life of their dreams by turning their mess into their greatest message and following their purpose to help the people who need their newfound wisdom and resources. To learn more, visit masteryunleashedpodcast.com. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review to this show.